Welcome to the Alain Elkann interviews, an unprecedented window into the minds of some of the most well-known and respected figures of the last 25 years.
Today we are with Antonio Monfreda, who is, of course, a creative person, not so easy to define. Is he an art director? Is he a photographer? Is he a curator? He certainly has a global vision of projects in a visual way. How do you define yourself, Antonio?
Well, apart from everything you said already, just to summarize, I think I am someone who was gifted with a special eye. And now that I have a certain age, I can say that to myself. And I use my eye in any occasion and in an aesthetic way, obviously, related to what I do.
Before coming to now, you were studying economy. You graduated at the University of Padova in economics. Then you went to the London School of Economics for a while. You worked for Fiat as a press officer. Then you worked for Rothschild Bank. And then what happened? You discovered your eye doing this? What happened?
No, I always knew that. But in my 30s, I decided, unfortunately, very late, to change my life and to follow my passions. And one of my passions, of course, was to exploit my gift, which were more natural compared to the skills I would have used in economy or in finance. But it has been a difficult moment because when you decide to change everything, you can be a little bit spaced out. But then I've been changing country. I came back to Italy from London and I started totally new career, joining a friend of mine who was starting a contemporary art gallery.
We talk about Mauro Nicoletti.
We're talking about Mauro Nicoletti, which is a fundamental friend, and he opened me the door to the contemporary art. Contemporary art at that time wasn't that fashionable as it is now, but artists, as usual, are the people that are able to open windows and to change the landscape. And so for me, it has been incredibly formative and interesting.
Yes, but then from contemporary art, of course, there's similar fields, but around 2004, you started collaborating with photographers and artists, and that's when you met Mario Testino. I mean, you worked with Mario Testino.
Yes.
And then after a while, during that time, you made a joint venture with Patrick Kinmonth.
Exactly. It happens that I met Patrick on a set with Mario Testino. We were in Los Angeles, I think, doing like Estée Lauder. And Patrick was about to do an exhibition in New York and he hadn't got that much time. And he told me, I saw the way you work. And we had several conversations about that. And he said, would you like to join me in this new adventure? And he was about to do an exhibition at the Metropolitan, which was Anglo-Mania. And he was, in the meantime, as usual, doing an opera in Germany or somewhere obscure like that, or experimenting something new, because Patrick is a great experimenter in what he does, and especially in operas, in a very successful way. And basically, I was in New York in the offices of Vogue America with Patrick and Anna Wintour, and we've been plotting this incredible exhibition, which has been extremely successful. It was an exhibition which was exploring fashion in England and the street fashion, and from John Galliano to Alexander McQueen, giving a fantastic landscape of what it was fashion in that years.
At that point, you started to be involved in fashion because then you worked with Valentino, you work with...
I started to be very much involved in fashion because we started to be specialized in fashion exhibitions, which is something very, very specific to do. And Valentino came after Anglomania, and it was in the town where I was living, in my own town. So very convenient. And we've been working with Giancarlo Giometti, Patrick and I, together to set up this 45th anniversary exhibition of Valentino, which was taking place in the Museum of Yara Pacis, which wasn't the perfect space because it's an ancient Roman altar in a box built by Richard Meyer, and it was quite complicated. But Patrick and I, we entered the space, we look at it, and we thought about creating a procession towards the altars and to divide all the Valentino clothes in colors blocks. So we did all the glittering at the entrance and then the white that they were going towards the red and then passing the altar and being transformed in all the black. And so in that way, the Valentino work took a very aesthetic rigor. And in the meantime, we were working with Hamish Bowles from Vogue America, who was curating the exhibition for a more scientific way and not just in the way it looks.
You kept on working for Valentino with another exhibition at the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in 2009.
Exactly. We kept working very happily for Valentino for many years. We did Les Arts Déco, another exhibition, and we did in London, Valentino Master of Couture at the Somerset House.
But then you worked to recreate the Cinema Manzoni in Milan, or you worked for many...
Cinema Manzoni in Milano was an exhibition, again, a fashion exhibition, which was concentrated on Fendi and the cinema. So all the clothes that Fendi produced in the years for the cinema. It was quite an interesting experience because we managed to create like a sort of pavement which was transparent over the red chairs of the cinema, and you were walking over the chairs, which was already giving you this idea of surreal, because cinema, it is surreal as well. And then we built on top of this transparent, huge pavement sections where to see pieces of films and the clothes themselves. Because Fendi did a lot of collaborations with the cinema, starting for the super famous, in Italian, it's a movie from Luchino Visconti and Silvana Mangano, which is Gruppo di Famiglia in un Interno, which in English is translated as conversation piece.
You kept on going on that field. Even in 2017, you did a big exhibition at Chatsworth, the famous English house. And that was, again, 500 years of fashion.
500 years of fashion in the same family. So from Renaissance until nowadays, we built this incredible table, which was a timeline, 80 meters, containing letters, objects related to the report of the family.
The family is the Devonshire family.
The Devonshire, the Duke and Duchess of Devonshire. And we had the exchange of letters, for instance, in between Georgiana, the famous Duchess of Devonshire, and Marie Antoinette, exchanging fashion suggestions and talking about which kind of hat was fashionable in Versailles or in north of England or in London.
But in the same time, with all this exhibition, since 2016, you became an international editor at large for the Cabana Magazine.
Yes.
Now you are going to publish soon, at the end of September, beginning of October, a new book called Tuscan Rooms, which is a book published by Rizzoli. And there are 300 images of famous Tuscan rooms, I mean, houses of some importance in Tuscany. Can you tell me a little bit more about this book and why did you decide to do this? And we didn't talk about the fact that you are also a photographer.
Yes.
Well, among the curator, the art director, you're also personally a photographer.
Which I love and enjoy very much to be. But to talk about my photography, I have to talk about Cabana first, which was when Martina Mondadori asked me, and she gave me the possibility to have kind of 30 pages in this magazine she was plotting, which was Cabana. And that was the number 0, or the first number. And since then, I've been collaborating with her And that was the very, very beginning. And it's a magazine about lifestyle and interiors. And it's a magazine that Martina transformed in a cult magazine, which is a must-have, which comes out twice a year. But in the meantime, it has been so successful in terms of lifestyle that in America, in England, in France, I mean, all around the world. And the success, it's also related to the fact that in a way, I understood that fashion was a little bit in a sort of crisis, and lifestyle and storytelling was something which was coming up. And as an art director, I've been incredibly lucky to meet Martina and to have the possibility to be part of Cabana. Because what is relevant at the moment, are more relevant the interiors of what you wear in a way. So it was very lucky for what I do and to express myself on another angle again. And in the meantime, my dear friend Monfreda della Gherardesca, who unfortunately is not with us anymore, asked me to expand my photographic work doing a book on his own land, which is Tuscany. And we started this project together. He did a sort of list of the places where, in his memory, Tuscany was at its best. We started to photograph them. And then, unfortunately, he left us and I stopped for a while. Then I decided to finish the book because it was already in the making. And I was right. And Cabana and Rizzoli, they joint venture and they are publishing it. The book is named Tuscan Rooms and it's coming out in September, the 16th of September, 2025.
What are these Tuscan rooms? Tuscany is obviously one of the most famous regions in the world. You know, many people all over the world dream of having a house in Tuscany, have had the house of Tuscany, and there are very famous houses or villas or however you want to call them.
Yeah.
What did you photograph? What is the meaning of this book?
Manfredi used to tell me that Tuscany is the biggest garden of Italy. And I thought it was a very interesting point of view because these relations in between the city and the country, it's very, very tight. It's similar to Veneto, but not the same because of the Venetian going to the villas in the country for the summer. This vision of Tuscany as a huge garden impressed me. And we decided to photograph 22 places, different places. From Siena, a little bit in the country, to the city, Florence, and country places. From castles to more normal houses in Castagneto Carducci or in Maremma and so on.
Can you tell me about some of these houses that are in the book that are particularly interesting or special?
Yeah, no, there is this profound relations in between the land and the city. I was quite impressed by many of them, and especially I'm impressed by the atmosphere of these houses. And this is exactly what I try to catch with my photography, because it's funny, like if you take a picture of a person as a portrait, you try to exploit the energy in between your relations and the relations of the person you are photographing. With the room, it's very similar, but you have to understand the energy of the room. And you can move things, you can add the flower, you can play with light, which is incredibly important, especially in still photography or interiors photography. In my opinion, it's absolutely crucial. And that's why you can photograph just in determined hours of the day, early in the morning or late in the afternoon when there is that moment which is named the magic hour, and where rooms, they became sort of magic. And because of this incredible light, which in Tuscany, it's pretty amazing, I enjoy particularly to photograph many, many of these houses in the country. Well, I don't have any preference, but I'm looking at the cover of the book now and I see on the front page what Rizzoli and Cabana choose as a cover, which is a beautiful painted of frescoes room in Castello Sonnino, owned by Caterina De Renzi. Sonnino, who also wrote a beautiful piece in the introduction of the book.
Then you photographed a house called Villa Le Corti, which is a house that has
Villa
been...
Le Corti, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I was really impressed. I had the chance to spend there more than one day, and beautiful. The light, it's incredible. What it's inside, it's so natural without any effort. It's like if everything it was there since ever. It was very easy to photograph because
But this was a strange story, It belongs to the family Corsini,
belongs to the
family. And it was abandoned for many years. And suddenly Duccio Corsini and his wife decided to...
Duccio and Clotilde decided to live there, first of all. They live in these rooms. There is a parrot who goes free around, which is like treated as a domestic animal. And it keeps a lot of company because it can't stop to talk and to say things. And he does comments even. I was really shocked by him. Can't remember his name, but it's a fantastic animal. And it's all very natural. And at the top floor of the house, they managed to regroup all the Corsini archive. I don't know if it is, I have to double check, but I think it's 1 kilometer and something of paper of all the documents and transactions since probably Renaissance in the family.
Another house you liked was the house of the Ginori, the famous Ginori family, right?
Yes, the Ginori family, it's in town, it's in Florence. It's absolutely spectacular. And with some Ginori pieces, which are always in my mind because of the beauty. And it's interesting how Florence, something that I didn't know, unfortunately, but Florence became capital of Italy in 1856 for 6 years. So from Torino, the capital of Italy was moved for political reasons from Torino to Florence. And so Caterina explained to me that most of the palaces, probably also the Ginori one, they had to rearrange to be at the level of being the capital city of Italy. And so lots of the things that they were not useful anymore in the palaces, they went straight to the country houses. And this is in one of the reasons why you find in the country houses of Tuscany, what is Siena or around Florence or at the Frescobaldi, this incredibly sense of, which I will summarize using a beautiful English word, which is in COSINESS, because also this COSINESS comes from these putting together pieces that they were, let's say, leftovers from the palaces. And so it's a style which the result, it's very cozy and natural in a way, without an effort.
There are no English houses that you photographed? I mean, from English foreigners who bought historical houses in the countryside?
Yes, like Cetinale, for instance, which is an amazing place and reminds me so much of Palladium Villa, but it's not. But in the way it's conceived, it's so beautiful and so much a place to where to enjoy the country life with this double facade, double garden. Cetinale belongs to Marina Lambton.
It belongs
and it was a Chigi house. It was built in 16th century by Cardinale Flavio Chigi, and then it has been conceived architecturally by someone who was close to Bernini, Carlo Fontana, who was trained by Bernini. And that's why probably it's so particularly fantastic and close to perfection, I would say.
And it belongs to the Lambton family now. But
Exactly.
Antonio, besides this book that is coming out, Tuscan Rooms, where you have 300 images in the end of September, you are by origin a Venetian, your city of adoption is London, you live in Rome. but your heart has been a lot into a small island, Panarea.
Yes.
You took pictures of this island that somehow belongs to your childhood memory, It's a long story with Panarea.
It's a long story with Panarea because I was living in a town which is beautiful, which is named Bassano del Grappa, where my father decided to go and live, which is a fantastic little city with Brenta River, which across the city in the middle of the hills. And my contact with the world, they were more related to my cousins, which they were in Rome. So when I was 13 years old, the sister of my father bought this house in Panarea. I moved for my holidays from the Lido, which was a very quiet place and beautiful.
You mean the Lido in
Lido di
Venice?
Venezia, exactly, to Panarea. So suddenly I was from a capanna in Quattro Fontane in Lido di Venezia to a small boat, probably naked in the middle of a sea in Sicily, where anything was very, very transgressive and very violent in terms also of climax, which was, this sun, incredible, the wind, the rocks, such a change of landscape. Apart that rocks are very similar to the Dolomites, which was something which I was used to, but they were Dolomites in the middle of the sea. So basically, this landscape was devastating for me, and it was a big love. But it was also a big love with my aunt, Fiore, which had an incredibly influence in my aesthetic because she was a super creative person. She used to express her creativity through cooking and through the garden, especially, and cooking. She was gardening a lot and she was cooking a lot, and she loved to have people over. And so she was building these impossible gardens in front of the sea, which is now also, if she's not with us anymore, but, my cousin Lucia Fabiani keep it going very well. And it's a fantastic house on the sea with these gardens full of lemons and cypress.
Let's leave for a second your memories and go back to an interview that you gave to Susie Menkes.
Yes.
In which you say something, we go back to fashion, right? You say that fashion is out of fashion because it's not sustainable. So can you explain me this, please?
It's quite a strong statement to say, especially out of context. But yes, I can explain to you because fashion, it's something...
No, because you said at the beginning, at the certain
You're right.
point, you said that you realized that fashion was not anymore what it used to be. And also...
Fashion is a little bit out of fashion because sustainability for the young generations, it's very important. But not just because of that. I think that there is a change of desires. There is a change of the concept of what is luxury now. Luxury now, it's different from it was 5 years ago, probably. Pandemic changed things a lot. That's why it's more luxury now to have a beautiful place where to live than compared to what you were. But in the meantime, fashion, it is also in a little bit of a crisis because it is not sustainable. Because fashion creates to survive and to expand and to make a lot of money out of it, creates a new desire every day, basically, or every season, every collection. You have to have something new. And in this world, it's not possible anymore.
You also say that fashion should listen to young people.
Yes, because young people are very much related at the moment, for instance, on buying second-hand clothes, something that already exists, so there is not a waste.
You mean vintage clothes, yes.
Vintage, yes. Vintage is picking up incredibly because young people, they love that. They feel that before it was cool what you were wearing. Nowadays, it's cool what you are. There is a big difference in between the two things.
And what is the impact? I mean, you worked for big names in your life. You worked for Moncler, Missoni, for Cartier, Tiffany, Valentino, and so on and so forth. What about this new Uniqlo's, Zara, this new kind of non-expensive fashion that you can find all over the world, and it is quite elegant in a way. I mean, there's not so much difference between a Uniqlo t-shirt or...
I think that Uniqlo, it's a case apart, and it's very practical. And it goes back to school. Like, it's like to wear divisa. You know what I mean? It's like, it gives you the possibility to be okay in any occasion, and it's perfect. Zara and all the others, I think they have probably a shorter life because they are made of no quality, absolutely, which is actually what fashion should aspire more, because it's all about quality now. Something that will stay, something that will rest, something that is made in a sustainable way, something that will be with you for a long part of your life.
But you say that fashion is out of fashion, but in the same time, it exists since such a long time. I mean, you talked before about your 500 years of fashion in Chatsworth, where Marie Antoinette was, there was a correspondence.
Well, we have to wear something. But but I want to say that when I say it's out of fashion, it's because it's less relevant. It's more relevant for me, for instance, when I walk in King's Road or in Portobello Road, let's say in London, when you walk in a street in London, London is famous to have this, what is called the street fashion, because you see people mixing, wearing. Most of the time you see a look that, it determines a new fashion or a new way to wear something. It's quite amusing for me to sit there and look at the people in cities like that.
I know that you love London and you have a particular affection for the fact that England is an island and all that. But I remember Giorgio Armani many years ago saying that I asked him, where do you get your inspiration? And he said, walking in the streets of London.
I didn't know that. But
exactly what you said, watching people. But why? Because the streets of London still now are very different from other cities, other places.
Absolutely. And it's full of multiracial people, and you get that kind of energy just there. It's different to be seated in the same cafe in Paris. It's a different atmosphere. But London, it's more inspiring because it's more natural. People are assembling stuff in a different way, in a more creative way.
Fashion is a kind of patchwork of many layers and completely free. And nowadays, when you walk around the world or you take an airplane or you are in a railway station or in an airport, people are all the same. Even the children, they all dressed in the same way.
As I told you, divisa, it's uniform. And Uniqlo, for me, it's the epitome of uniforms. It's very practical. It's all black. It's all blue, dark blue. It's very, very practical. But the world is changing. There are lots of singles as well.
What are you doing at the moment? I mean, how do you put together all this talent you have, multi-talent? I mean, you're a very eclectic person. You published this book inside Tuscan Rooms. What are you...
I can't wait to send it to you.
You change all the time from one thing to the other. So what are your next projects?
Okay,
besides working for Cabana, which you still do as an editor at large.
Yes. Actually, I was very influenced by Martina, who told me, you should photograph. She was insisting. And actually, I developed this passion. But by the way, I also have a passion for anything it's visual, obviously. And that goes also with the videos. So I'm doing a series of videos for the new Cabana issue, which will be out in October, which are teasers, which are going online. This is another big thing because Cabana has like a double phase. One is this incredible, sophisticated magazine where paper changes, the cover, it's in fabric, each time done by a different designer. And then it plays a big part on the net. So anything it's produced and sell on the web, it's produced by Cabana in terms of video. So I'm doing a little series of video for the new upcoming number, where I have a new fascinating story on Sictilia, on Roman marbles.
How do you decide, what story to tell? How do you make your decisions?
Via WhatsApp with
Mhm.
Martina. I WhatsApp Martina when I have an idea or when I see something which, in my opinion, is suitable to the magazine or to a special project we are doing. And we decide from the images. Or I do little research, or if I am somewhere I love particularly and I see things, I just take pictures and exchange ideas with my editor.
You also design furniture.
No, with Patrick Kimoff, we designed a shop for Missoni, a shop which is still existing, and it's in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica Boulevard.
Didn't you
And
make a cabinet for some friends in Naples? Didn't you?
that's right. In the occasion of Missoni, we designed even the furniture which they were inside. And recently, a friend of mine asked me a suggestion because he wanted badly a bar in his beautiful living room. And I designed it and I produced it and I used my artisans. And the result is pretty good. I'm happy with it. I think he's very happy too.
So at the end of the day, this young businessman or banker or whatever that you were, are you happy about the choices you made for your life?
Very, very. I'm very happy. I have no doubt about that because it's very difficult and it's one of the biggest luxury in life, I think, to do something you like. When you do something you like, you're never bored, you're never sad, you're always curious. I keep my curiosity up all the time. And I also love to confront a lot myself with other generations, especially now, for instance, there is all this talk about AI. My young assistants, Guido Leon and Matteo, are very keen about AI, and I'm not. And we have this discussion several times a day because they tend to ask everything to AI. And recently we were doing a document for a perfume competition of photography. And they prepared it on using AI. And in the end, the wording was wrong. And the images were my images. So AI, it's a fantastic revolution. It's amazing. It's something to explore, but it's something to exploit more than più che subire.
You need to manage it in a way,
You
right?
need to manage it.
Cannot
I
be-
mean, it's a huge, incredible shortcut for many, many practical things. But aesthetically, you need the presence of a human. And fortunately, you need the presence of a human which can also be over 50. Because, it's better than a 21 years old guy.
So you have a future, Antonio. Thank you very
I
much.
have a future.
Thank you very much for this conversation.
Alain Elkann interviews.